Good morning, class. How are you all doing? We've missed you all so much. So much. I hope you're doing okay. We thought it would be a neat idea for me to do a little bit of reading to you all from time to time. I hope that you all would enjoy that. I did bring along my friend Esmeralda. It's my daughter's, but I just love snuggling with Esmeralda. But what I thought about today was I was going to read A Bad Case of Stripes by David Shannon. So, listen up, take some little notes. Who knows, you might be asked some questions so that you can show some of your work, because we would love to see some of the great work that you guys are doing. Okay? So, listen up, and here we go. I'm going to put on my readers. You know Miss Wright's got her coffee. All right. A Bad Case of Stripes by David Shannon. Camilla Cream loved lima beans, but she never ate them. All of her friends hated lima beans, and she wanted to fit in. Camilla was always worried about what other people would think of her. Today, she was fretting even more than usual. It was the first day of school, and she couldn't decide what to wear. There were so many people she wanted to impress. She tried on 42 outfits, but none of them were quite right. So she put on a pretty red dress, looked in the mirror, and then she screamed. Poor Camilla. Her mother ran into the room, and she screamed too. "Oh, my heavens," she cried. "You're completely covered with stripes." This was certainly true. Camilla was striped from head to toe. She looked like a rainbow. Mrs. Cream felt Camilla's forehead. "Do you feel all right?" she asked. "I feel fine," Camilla answered. "But just look at me." "You get back into bed this instant," her mother ordered. "You're not going to school today." Camilla was relieved. She didn't want to miss the first day of school, but she was afraid of what the other kids would say, and she had no idea what to wear with those crazy-looking stripes. That afternoon, Dr. Bumble came to examine Camilla. "Most extraordinary," he said. "I've never seen anything like it. Are you having any coughing, sneezing, runny nose, aches, pains, chills, hot flashes, dizziness, drowsiness, shortness of breath, or uncontrollable twitching?" "No," Camilla told him. "I feel just fine." "Well then," Dr. Bumble said, turning to Miss Cream, "I don't see any reason why we shouldn't go to school tomorrow. Here's some ointment. It should clear it right up, those stripes, in a few days. If it doesn't, you know where to reach me." And off he went. The next day was an absolute disaster. Everyone at school laughed at Camilla. They called her Camilla Crayon, Night of the Living Lollipop. She tried her best to act as if everything were normal. But when the class said the Pledge of Allegiance, her stripes turned red, white, and blue, and she broke out in stars. What? Look at her. The other kids thought it was great. One yelled out, "Let's see some purple polka dots." Sure enough, Camilla turned all purple polka dotty. Someone else shouted, "Checkerboard, checkerboard." Sure enough again, a pattern of squares covered her skin. Soon, everyone was calling out different shapes and colors, and poor Camilla was changing faster than you could change channels on a TV. That night, Mr. Harms, the school principal, called. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Cream," he said. "I'm going to have to ask you to keep Camilla home from school. She's just too much of a distraction, and I've been getting calls from other parents. They're afraid that those stripes could be contagious." Camilla was so embarrassed. She couldn't believe that 2 days ago everyone liked her. Now, nobody wanted to be in the same room with her. Her father tried to make her feel better. Is there anything I can get you, sweetheart? He asked. No, thank you, sighed Camellia. What she really wanted was a nice plate of lima beans, but she had been laughed at enough for one day. Well, yes, I see, Dr. Bumble mumbled when Mr. Cream phoned the next day. I think I better bring in the specialist. We'll be right over. About an hour later, Dr. Bumble arrived with 4 people in long white coats. He introduced them to the Creams. He said, this is Dr. Grop, Dr. Sponge, Dr. Cricket, and Dr. Young. Then the specialist went to work right away in Camellia. They squeezed, jabbed, tapped, tested. It was so uncomfortable. Well, it's not the mumps, concluded Dr. Grop, or the measles, said Dr. Sponge. Definitely not chicken pox, put in Dr. Cricket. Or sunburn, said Dr. Young. Try these, said the specialist. They each handed her a bottle filled with different colored pills. Take one of these each day at bed, said Dr. Grop. Then they filed out the door by Dr. Bumble. That night, Camellia took her medicine. It was awful. When she woke up the next morning, she did not feel different. But she got dressed, but her clothes didn't fit. She looked in the mirror, and there she was, staring back at her was a giant multicolored pill with her face on it. What the? Poor Camellia. Dr. Bumble rushed over as soon as Miss Cream called. But this time, instead of the specialist, he brought the experts. Dr. Gourd and Dr. Mellon were the finest scientific minds in the land. Once again, Camellia was poked, prodded, looked at, and listened to. The experts wrote down lots of numbers. Then they huddled around and they whispered. Dr. Gourd finally spoke. It might be a virus, he announced. Suddenly, fuzzy little virus balls appeared all over Camellia, or possibly some form of bacteria, said Dr. Mellon. Out popped squiggly little bacteria tails. What? Or it could be fungus, added Dr. Gourd. Instantly, Camellia was covered with different colored fungus blotches. The experts looked at Camellia and then looked at each other. We need to go over these numbers again back at the lab, quickly. Dr. Gourd explained. We'll call you when we know something, but the experts did not have a clue, much less a cure. What are they going to do? By now, the TV news had found out about Camellia. Reporters from every channel were outside her house, telling the story of the bizarre case of the incredible changing kid. Soon, a huge crowd camped out in her front lawn. What? Poor Camellia. The Creams were swamped with all kinds of remedies from psychologists, allergists, herbalists, nutritionists, psychics, a no medicine man, a guru, and even a veterinarian. Each so-called cure only added to poor Camellia's strange appearance until it was hard to even recognize her. She sprouted roots and berries and crystals and feathers and a long furry tail, but nothing worked. My gosh. One day, a woman called herself an environmental therapist, claimed that she could cure Camellia. Close your eyes, she said. Breathe deeply and close your eyes, she said, and become one with this room. I wish you hadn't said that, Camellia groaned. Slowly, she started to melt into the walls of her own room. Her bed became her mouth, her nose was a dresser, and 2 paintings were her eyes. The therapist screamed and ran from the house. What are we going to do? Cried Mrs. Cream. It just keeps getting worse and worse. She began to sob. At that very moment, Mr. Cream heard a quiet little knock at the door. He opened it, and there stood a little old woman who was just as plump and sweet as a strawberry. "Excuse me," she said brightly, "but I think I can help." Suddenly, the branches, the feathers, and the quiggly tails began to disappear. Then the whole room swirled around. When it stopped, there stood Camellia, and everything was back to normal. "I'm cured," she shouted. "Yes," said the old woman, "I knew the real you was in there somewhere." She patted Camellia on the head. Then she went outside and vanished into the crowd. Afterward, Camellia wasn't quite the same. Some of the kids at school said that she was weird, but she didn't care a bit. She ate all the lima beans that she wanted, and she never had even a touch of stripes ever again. The end. What a great story about Camellia. So maybe you can take some time and answer some questions about the book. And I thank you so much for letting me spend some time with you. We miss you guys so much. And I know it seems like some days are running into other days, but we're here for you. We can FaceTime. Just work hard and be kind to each other. Everybody be kind. Remember choosing love, having courage, being responsible. We were going to start talking about forgiveness, so that's something maybe we can look into doing as well. So you all have a wonderful, wonderful, blessed day, and stay kind.